Hi folks, welcome to Set Apart Homestead, the prepared homestead. This is Travis. Thank you for watching. I wanted to take a moment to mention a video that I did over on my Patreon page talking about how to get your family and loved ones on board with preparedness. Had a listener ask the question, and it was just happened to be something that was on my to-do list of videos, so I thought I'd make one and throw it over there. I'll leave a link below in the description if you want to go over there. It is $1 a month. There's no pressure at all to go over there and do that. I throw extra content on Patreon, a few videos a week, article here and there, anything that I might find interesting that I think that you folks might be interested in. But if you don't want to do that, that's fine. I will still continue to make videos regularly here on YouTube. But like I said, I'll put a link below in case you're interested. Today I wanted to talk about food, but kind of specifically seeds and gardening and getting ready. It is winter, or at least it feels like it. It's cold, been snowy and icy and all that sort of stuff. And a lot of you folks have had to deal with that. Some of you have had to deal with it a whole lot worse than myself. And so you might be thinking, well, man, now's not gardening time. Can't go out and garden right now. It's so cold. Now is the time to be planning for it, to be figuring out what your plans are, what you're going to do this next spring when it comes to planting. Because learning how to grow your own food, how to become more self-sufficient, I believe, is one of the top priorities you should have as a prepper. I'm not poo-pooing other things, so don't get me wrong. But if you only had enough time, money, and effort to put into one thing and one thing only to get you prepared, and you had a choice between, say, food or say guns, I would say go with the food. And there may be a lot of you that think I'm crazy, but here's the deal. While most likely you would need a firearm to protect yourself, either currently or in the case of some catastrophe, there's no guarantee of that. You may do fine without one. You may be able to survive just fine without one. But one thing that I can absolutely guarantee you is that you will not survive without food. Today, tomorrow, next week, next year, wherever. You have to have food to survive. And so that should be one of your absolute top priorities. Here's something moving around in the woods. Is food. And you can, I've talked about this before, storing it up, buckets, that kind of stuff is great, but you really need to get to where you're able to produce a certain portion of your own food. It's extremely important because you can only store up so much food. It can spoil. There could have, been some problem, even if you tried to store it properly. There may have been something that happened and some of it go bad. Or you just, what if it floods, house burns, catches on fire? There's things like that that could happen. And if you're putting all your eggs in the basket of storing up long-term food storage, you could it could be a dangerous thing for you. That's like playing roulette. So you need to learn how to raise your own food, grow it. And one of the things that you need to be doing is seeds. You need to be storing seeds. You need to be purchasing seeds, collecting seeds. It's very important because I believe in it, because the past has shown this. In the past, and in certain areas of this world where things have gotten really bad, seeds are like money. In fact, they've been exchanged as money, and they've had great value at times in our past. And I believe it will be that way in the future. Right now, most seeds are super cheap. Even the really good ones are super cheap, for the most part. So I think now is the time, or you should have already been doing it, of stocking up on seeds, because you will need them for your own personal use, and you can also use them as a form of currency, a bartering item. So they're very important. Now, You have to be a little careful with what you get. For those of you that don't know, there are a lot of seeds that are controlled by certain seed companies. There are about, well over half, and I had read this once and I should have checked for this video, but I can't remember. It's something like 60-70% of all the seeds in this world, that are marketed, sold, are controlled by like 4 companies. And I cannot remember the names of those companies, but you can do the research and find out. And if I'm wrong, let me know. But they've centralized and monopolized the seed industry, and I don't think that's a good thing. It used to be years ago, most every community had, a seed store and a guy that you could take a certain amount of your crops to, and he would, get the seed out of it, corn, wheat, whatever it was, and you could go back and get your seeds, or you could just buy seeds from him. And most of those were local, and they were, the property of that guy that owned the seed shop, the little, store. It's not that way anymore. Most seeds are patented, and they're actually owned by whatever manufacturer, whatever company that came up with that, because they're, genetically modified. They're, they're a special, unique breed that they're able to put a patent on and make, more money off of it. Now, the problem with that is many of these will produce infertile seeds, or, less fertile seeds. Meaning that if you try to, say if you buy a package of tomatoes, the seeds for tomatoes, and you grow the tomatoes, they'll probably grow just fine. And then you take those tomatoes and you try to harvest seeds from them so that next year you have seeds. There's a chance that none of them, or only a small portion of them, will germinate and produce a plant. And they do that on purpose so that you have to every year buy new seeds. Most of your heirloom seeds are not that way, because they've not been, genetically modified in any way to keep them from, reproducing on their own. So try to stick with that kind of stuff. It doesn't mean that I don't store up cheap, seeds that probably aren't going to reproduce. When I go into a store at the end of the season and they've got the cheap seeds for a nickel a pack or something like that, dime a pack, sure, I'll buy them up. Those aren't the ones that I necessarily grow, but I look at it this way: it could be bartering stuff. If you store seeds properly, they will last a very, very long time. In fact, they have discovered seeds that are hundreds of years old, seeds of plants that have become extinct, and they have replanted them and they've grown again. So as long as they're dry and out of the sunlight, seeds should last for a very, very long time. So make sure you store them properly, and you should have seeds for, the rest of your life. And like I said, it doesn't take that much, because they're not terribly expensive to buy up. Make sure you're purchasing seeds of plants that will grow in your area. If you truly feel that the climate could change because of some type of natural thing that could be happening, you might want to buy seeds that would grow in, an area that you think the climate might change to. If you think it's going to get a little cooler, maybe look for plants that would grow better in cooler regions. But make sure you have plenty of, plenty of seeds on hand. It's not that difficult to harvest seeds. I'm not going to get into the details of that in this video, but learning how to harvest seeds, dry them out, and store them is not difficult at all. You can find multiple websites that will kind of give you some how-to guide on how to do that. And maybe at some point I'll do that. Maybe this next year when I start harvesting, maybe if I can remember, I'll do a video on that also. It's kind of hard to do that when I don't have anything to harvest right now. But getting to the point that you are independent in your food system, or at least close to it, is an amazing feeling. I believe with all my heart that there has been an overt effort over the past several decades to get the American people from eating healthy food to eating junky processed foods, so that and keep them from growing their own, or encourage them to not grow their own, so that people become more dependent upon the system, and we are. And you can, I've said this before, you can look at data out there showing how the health of Americans has decreased and diseases have increased at the same time that we are, eating more processed stuff out of a box as opposed to things that grow fresh in our gardens. So you can improve your health, you can save money. In the long run, you can save money. In the beginning, you have upfront costs of getting your gardens ready and tools and things like that. But in the long run, you can save money. It's a good way to have food storage. Learn to can your own food and put it up every year. And you're also making yourself more self-sufficient. And in the end, if something really bad happens, you know that you're able to produce your own food. You may have to change your diet a little bit if you're just going to live out of a garden, but it's doable. So right now, this time of the year, you need to be, and I understand many of you are getting ready for holidays and things like that, so you may not be thinking about it this week. But it is time to start planning your gardens for the next year, making sure you're getting your compost and things ready. And getting your seeds bought, because with a lot of these seed companies, the good seed companies, they only have a limited amount, and if you wait till right before planting, they may not have them, or at least have the ones that you want. So go ahead and start ordering of those seeds, and some of them you can buy them in bulk. I know that I see these things all the time online, where these like prepper seed boxes where they have all these seeds in the I don't know the quality of those. I've never purchased them, but I have looked at just what they advertise, and I think you would be better off buying seeds individually, personally, than buying one of those packs that have, several thousand seeds. And they make it sound like it's a lot, thousands of seeds. Well, there may be thousands of seeds in one of those little seed packets, or at least several hundred seeds, depending on the type of seed. Some of these seeds are really small, and an eighth of an ounce of seeds, maybe 500 seeds. I don't know that those are necessarily the best places to go and get your seeds, but hey, I'm not endorsing or poo-pooing any of them. Be careful of the seed companies. A lot of these seed catalogs you get, the big fancy flashy seed catalogs, a lot of them are all from the same company. The seeds all come from the same place. Usually from Bayer is a big one, and Bayer is the one that bought out Monsanto, and they're one of the largest seed companies. So be a little cautious of those, because you're going to find some of those seeds are the ones that aren't going to reproduce on their own. Your heirloom seeds, I think, are the best, just because of that fact. You're going to find seeds that you're not usually going to have to worry about them producing on their own. You can harvest seeds from the plants that you grew so that you have seeds next time. And each year try to grow extra. If you figure that, I'm going to grow 30 tomato plants, grow 40 tomato plants or 35 tomato plants. And that extra, any extra that you think you have, set aside and use that for, harvesting your seeds for the next year, and harvest more than you need so that you're little by little building up seeds. And then of course it doesn't hurt to continue buying seeds. So anyways, now is the time, if you haven't done so already, and I know many of you already do this, I know this is a big seed saving is a big deal, but if you haven't done it, and I know many of you and prepper minded people are very focused on gear and guns and stocking up ammo, and that's good. I'm not poo-pooing any of that, but you got to also do stuff that you can grow. And seeds, it's getting windy, I hope I'm not messing up the sound too much. You need to be stocking up on seeds. You need to be buying seeds, putting them away, store them properly, and learn how to grow and learn how to harvest your seeds so that you have more. It is a critical thing for long-term preparedness, for long-term self-sufficiency. So if you're not doing that, you need to get on the ball and getting things ready for growing your own food. And you may not live out in the country, but you can still grow food in pots on your porch or your balcony. And at least that is giving you some experience of how to grow food, so that someday, if you have to, or someday if you move into a place that you can grow more, you'll be able to. All right, thank you all for watching, and I'm going to catch you in the next video.